I reckon if I was asked to do a TED talk, it'd be something like this. I, like you, want to live in a world free of dickheads. Just imagine it, if you will. A world where people let you get out of the lift before they start trying to get in. Where no man wears naked women on his T-shirt and no woman hassles her mates to go to a pyramid scheme lingerie party. I know, it seems impossible, but this is a place for big ideas. And I'm not saying we're better than them. Okay, I am, I just said it. We're better than them. But as Sun Tzu said, you must understand your enemy. And more importantly, you need to laugh at them right in the face. They hate that. When I was young, and it feels weird saying that because I've always felt about 75, I had a dickhead boss. And she didn't like this email I sent her. So she came storming out of her office and in front of everyone leans over my cubicle and just goes, "I don't like your tone." So I pushed my chair back and I stood up and I just went, "Oh, I don't like yours either. So I guess we're even." I didn't want that job anyway. The point is, you've got to always be on your guard because they're everywhere. Like if you look to your left. And to your right. Good chance one of them's a dickhead. If they look all right, probably you. It's great to be here on the big red dot, TEDxCanberra, it is. Of course, if you step off the dot, you just disintegrate into a pile of dust. At the end of the world, you know, when everyone's a podcaster and like stockpiling Nespresso pods, because that's sort of my idea of hell, and I think the apocalypse would be a welcome relief compared to that, you wouldn't want to be the one stuck doing a TEDx talk, would you? Like all your mates fleeing, just fleeing out the back going, "You run, we've got to run." And you're like, "Save yourselves. They're filming it. I've got to stay on the dot." I've got to say, I don't quite understand you people here. Can't get my head around what you're about. How bad are your Saturdays that you've just gone, "I don't know, I'm going to go to a potluck of earnest lectures"? Amazing. The only thing that would get me voluntarily, hanging out with a bunch of geniuses for a day, is if the alternative is ironing or watching kids' sports. I'm kidding, I never do either of those things. But I admire your work ethic, especially the guy on that iPad taking notes. It's Saturday, mate, clock off. But I just think that it takes a lot of self-assurance to spend a day watching geniuses speak and to come away feeling uplifted, I've never been to a TEDx before, I'll admit, mainly because I think it's one of those events that sort of just reminds me of how hopeless I am, Like, it's sort of like a fashion parade of brains. Like, "Oh, look what she's done with recyclable sewage. It's so on trend for spring 2018. I just think, that it just takes an extraordinary amount of self-esteem, to come away from today's events and just go, "Oh, what a great world we live in. I'm such a great contributor to it." But it is a strange thing, TEDx. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I know this sounds cynical, but look, I've reached an age where people just sort of look at my face and go, is she cranky about something specific? I'm openly grey. That's just who I am, you know. And no one is so happy for a middle-aged woman going openly grey as mates her own age, you know. When I told my friends I was going to go grey, it was like I told them I was joining a charity in the jungle saving orangutans, you know. It's like, oh, that is so good. That is so... I mean, I could never do it. I'm glad you are, you know. And I'm self-employed, so that's another way of saying I'm a professional comfort eater. Bored, have a Monte Carlo. No one's bored in Monte Carlo. And my partner has recently become self-employed too, right? And so we care about our relationship, so make sure at all times one of us is out of the house. I can kill half a day just looking at water bottles in Woolies, for example. And when you've got nothing on in your day, you just start making stuff up. Like he said to me the other day, look, from 9 to 11, I'm going to be checking the markets. I'm going to be calculating some figures, working on some spreadsheets, so I'm going to need some blue sky. I was like, oh, right. So you want me not to speak to you between 9 and 11? Yeah. I'll see if I can fit it into my schedule. Yeah. And I'm not great at interviews either because I'm too honest. Like I went and saw this recruitment professional and she said, Chris, what do you really like to do? And I went, oh, yeah. Yeah, nothing. Nothing. I mean, I could kill, 6 months by the pool, sipping pina coladas, scrolling the gram, but truth be told, my calling, nothing. Yeah. I've been accused of being an aggressive person, not by like the cops or anything, just the father of my children. And it's hard when you are because you don't see it, right? You think you've said, darling, could you go check the barbecue? And what he's heard is, get off your ass, turn the steaks, you're fine. And I don't know why we're afraid of passive-aggressive people. What are they going to do, awkward silence you to death? At my old job, there was this bloke called passive-aggressive Jeff. I gave him that nickname. A boss was trying to organise a team bonding lunch, and Jeff just waited for silence, and then he goes, what if you'd rather just work? I went, oh, Jeff, when you say that, it sounds like you don't want to come to lunch with your colleagues, and that hurts. Come along, be fun to lunch together. That's what I thought I said. My kids are heaps smarter than I am. So I can never help them with their homework because I can't remember anything from school except the dumb and the funny stuff. Like when I did flash dance for my Year 6 teacher, there was an idea worth spreading. I thought if I danced at lunchtime for my teacher, she would call Fame School and I would just be in a world of showbiz for the rest of my life, eating chips and Coke backstage. It would be great. It didn't happen. And the kids never get asked about that, which is really disappointing. That's the best part of school for me. But, like if they come home and they go, oh, Mum, what do you call a collapsed volcano? I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. Mum, what's a cumulus nimbus? Oh, that's the wand Harry used before he got the other one. Are you studying English, kids? No, science. Oh, yes. I suppose there is some science in it. All those spells, yeah. And I try and remember things like, if you split an atom, you can make energy or stuff. But even that's just too boring. My eyes just glaze over and I just think, I don't need to remember that. Someone else can. And I know my partner sometimes just looks at me and thinks, did you even go to school? I know that because that's what he asks me. And I figure, I remember at uni, the only thing that stand out for me is that I lost it in a lecture, like an hour-long toot about a poem called Ode to a Nightingale. And I just thought, what if it's not about the interconnection of joy and pain? What if it's just about a bird? And I know, like, you know, it's sad I can't help my kids, but I figure, you know, all of that stuff, I didn't need to remember it. And the only reason I'd ever have to remember is to help your kids with homework, and that's just not a good enough reason to remember something. But, you know, I may not be traditionally smart, but I can overthink everything, and I think it should count. You know, like, I may not know anything about rock climbing, but I know all the ways you can die from it. I may not have a PhD in relationship psychology, but I know if my partner's silent for 10 minutes, he's planning a divorce. It's like, darling, why were you so quiet last night? I was asleep. But you would say that, wouldn't you? And if I see, you know, a mate from school and she ignores me at the mall, I don't think, oh, she's ignored me. Oh, she mustn't like me. That's entry-level stuff, you know. Where you need to go is like, she saw me, she ignored me. It's because I didn't vote with her on the healing garden for the school. I'll be the bigger person. I'll go over and talk to her. Hello, Lorraine. Oh, Chris, I didn't see you there. Oh, yeah, but you would say that, wouldn't you? So TEDx is a place for ideas worth spreading. Here's one. How about, if you don't know what you're talking about, shut up. Here's one. That's a good one. Seems so simple and elegant, doesn't it? And yet I don't think we'll ever see it in our lifetime. Especially up at Parliament House. Imagine all the Hansard staff just sitting with their fingers hovering over their weird typewriters going, and all the pollies going, oh, hang on, I know, future of the nation, I've got, oh, no, hang on, got nothing. Never have, actually. Never have. But I think this is a joyous occasion. You know, I think that TEDx is like the one day where nerds get to do showbiz. And they're really good at it. They're really good at it. And it's so much better than the alternative, which is when, you know, clowns and tricksters are in charge of every significant national policy that we could possibly have. Imagine that. Thank you.